Hello, my name is Alex and I am the host of How Grotesque podcast, and this is episode 4 of the series. Hopefully you'll like it and you won't find it repulsive. So, what is this podcast about? It's about rambling, raving, ranting and banter, freestyle fiction if nothing more. There is no continuation, no framework, not much of anything but a ravings of possible lunatic, to be frank. So if you want to engage a few minutes with ramblings on multiple subjects, from garbage collection to piracy, this could be just the place for you, my dear listener. Still, there are moments of clarity and lucidity in all of this, so anything goes. And as such, there are stories that are forgotten in the mists of time regardless if they happened yesterday or some centuries ago. So if you are attracted to highbrow banter, I think you'll find this podcast very informative and perhaps even entertaining. This podcast is for mature audiences and listener discretion is advised. All that being said, now let us dive into the 4th episode of How Grotesque podcast. This episode is called Bewildered Sweethearts. There is a situation in a significant part of the population that is something special and to which due attention is not paid. And that is that the state of misery and misfortune of the people itself that gives them additional content in life, despite the declarative commitment so contraire, in their heads at least. This condition is most often expressed through the tendency to start a new relationship. Today, more than ever, we have the ultimate capitalist sexual market. Swipe left or right and you can potentially get an STD. For the ones that are already committed in a relationship or marriage, that sort of bonding can be characterized as a generator of misfortune and fear. At a job, educational institution or any kind of position here and the complete picture appears on the surface. Why? Oh, why all that bewilderment? Why? Because a happy and harmonious relationship or marriage would eliminate the value of most of the social content your social circle deals with, when it comes to you. Most of the perception of themselves sinks like a German battleship in World War II. Single or not, people in your orbit are invested to make your life as miserable as their own. Probably the daily communication with friends, comrades, and acquaintances, real and virtual parents and relatives is such that happiness never comes on the agenda. Besides, happiness irritates the mentioned persons much more than a bleeding hemorrhoid. No, luck in any combination does not bring adequate feedback. The need for comfort? That's a winner. Although it is never called consolation. One of life's secret hacks is to not be fooled into naming things as they are. If you want to have any sort of social life, avoid naming the kettle black. It's your one-way street to isolation. Pulling the chain on those so powerful emotions? Chasing the rainbow around the corner? Killing your true self just to be part of a group? There are certainly small differences between the male and female versions of this strange situation, but the differences are not very significant. There is a long and wide talk about how the partner does not seem good enough. It's either this or that, garbage and goods, presents and anniversaries. But lo and behold, there is a light at the end of the tunnel, a collective council of an unhappy scavengers, gatherers of our misfortunes. As supposed friends, they feel needed and useful. Consolation, giving instructions, and after the 6th beer or the 7th vodka come the legendary words, well, he is not that crappy. In fact, he is not bad. He has a golden heart. He loves you. Hard to stay in character after 7 shots. The number of relationships that ended up being executed by the goodwill and well-meaning friends, parents, relatives and other characters is incredible. The benefit is mutual, of course, reverse-engineered mutualistic concept without parachute. Service returns with service when misery changes face, but not content. But those advised are by no means victims. The good old compliance. But it's not just that. Here is the whole picture of themselves, outside the perception of the closest environment with which they are in daily interaction, the alter ego, the Ponzi scheme. Being different, original. Something else. Dancing counterclockwise on a clockwise path. The question is, how different is someone if the results are always the same as those of 999 out of 1,000 people? Vast, overwhelming majority of people don't want to be happy. It takes all their projected values down the drain. So the only way to make a lasting relationship is to act in a way that makes them miserable. If you are up to it and enjoy that masochistic life. If you are not, ask yourself, how fast can you run? Give us derivatives, entertain us, bring us pot. Paul, that is, not Mary Jane. I hope you all liked episode 1 of this podcast. Thank you so kindly for listening, and I will be back next time for episode 5 of the How Grotesque podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, please consider liking, sharing, and above all, subscribe to this channel, dear listener. Because, why not? Join me next time for another grotesque ranting through space and time. Cheerio.